about somebody sick. So it's not your everyday battery light. It'll be different if it was the first time this happened, but this is me having to go back over a car. I just put an alternator on a week ago, and you know, it's not the money at all. It's the fact that you put a new part on the car and the new part fails, you got to go back over it, and it takes time. You know, from out your date, you could be doing other things. I'm pissed, so I'm kind of hurt. So this was a remanufactured alternator from O'Reilly's. Since y'all know I frequently patronize the place, to get patronized. This is not going to be the most motivating video. I'm sorry, I'm just a little discouraged. It takes like three hours to put this thing on here, and it's not so bad the second time around. Trust me, it's not. But the fact that, you know, I repaired the AC while I was out, and cleaned my work area. You know, you just don't think you want to have to go back over it again. That's what bothers me. And you just want to do it right the first time. And these part stores are going to assure you that this don't happen. So here we are a week later. It's not the first time, not the last time, but you know, it is what it is. I've had alternators directly out the box from AutoZone go bad. The Toyota I had and diagnosed when the customer bought their own part. This is Ultima remanufactured alternator from O'Reilly's. You know, it's a quality control issue. Unfortunately, this car, once you started driving it for a while, the light came back on. I was in denial at first, but I'm not going to sit there and say the customer's lying or whatever. But once I drove it took me about 30 minutes of driving for the light to come back on. Came back, tested my wiring, and let me show you what I found out. So pardon the noise, it's going to be a little loud. This is the Autel MP808. This is just my secondary scan tool. So I'm in the bidirectional portion here in the active test mode. Once you go into the active test mode, you should be able to command the duty cycle of the alternator. This alternator has 3 wires. It has an L terminal, it has a battery voltage, and it has a C channel, a terminal, which is the control wire. This alternator is controlled through the PCM. So this is at the connector. All right, so it's 3-pin connector. So you should have 2 12-volt sources. One should be it shouldn't be able to support a load with the test light, but it should be bias voltage, and then you should have 1 pin that actually is capable of supporting the load, the test light of 12 volts. And the other one is just the C channel, which the computer IPDM integrated programmable module, whatever, an integrated distribution program. I was one of those things, the IPDM for the Nissan. That fixes that controls that. So if I recall properly, I have to pull up the wiring diagram for you, but the computer controls that. So while I'm in this active test mode here, I should have been able to, the voltage should have dropped, because when I first got the car, the battery voltage went to 12 volts, and that'll give you the abilities to quick up the duty cycle for the alternator, and the voltage will reflect. It's off, there's no duty, I'm not controlling it, and it's producing 14 or 15 volts. So what that means is, you know, all the battery connections are fine, ignore that. What that means is the L terminal lightly shorted out internally with the C terminal. That's the control wire. So being that the control wire applies like full ground to implement like a 100% duty cycle if need be, that seems to be the only common thing. So we got a ground from the L terminal, which shows that I can't remember the name of that circuit. I want to call it like an isopotential, I think that's what it's called, but the L terminal for the light bulb has a 12-volt going to one end, and you have a bulb, and then you have 12-volt going back out. So once that grounds out internally and detects a problem, it sends a ground signal which causes that bulb to illuminate. To eliminate the fact that the L terminal is defective, just pull the alternator connector while it's running and the light should go out. It does. So, which leads me to suspect, being that the alternator is charging, for one, or the second. So the alternator is charging and the L terminals malfunction. And the control wire seems to be, it operates off of a ground signal. Those two likely are merged together, and it's not the connector. The connector is okay. I'm going to replace the connector when I pull it out because it is broken up a little bit, but it's not bad. It's still divided. I separated the wires to eliminate the likelihoods of that being the case. And yeah, it just needs another alternator. And I want to put another connector on here. Let me shut this down. So I don't want to confuse anybody. I know I ramble a lot, but again, we have 12 volts, a bias 12 volts, and the control wire. I think that L terminal grounded out caused our illuminating light in the vehicle for the battery light, and I think they're touching that C terminal, and I think that's what's causing it to have a 100% duty cycle or close to it. Because when I was trying to command the duty cycle for the alternator, when I initially got it tested, I could go to 90% and it'll produce about 16 volts, somewhere close about at 15, and that's what it's producing with allegedly a defective alternator. So it thinks it's not charging. So I've had vehicles like that think it wasn't charging before, and what wound up being, it was the just the L terminal, and they can fail individually, separate from the alternator voltage input to excite the rectifier. So I want to get this, just go over some basic stuff to pull this off, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes of it. But definitely, I'm gonna let this cool down for a little bit. Probably just run to the parts store and grab an alternator. But definitely, you want to take this neck off, take this air duct off, the intake, pull the battery out, and you want to pull the computer back a little bit, and you want to take the bolts from the fan assembly, disconnect the fans, and just move the fans up. All right, and likely have to move them up and out. When I pull the alternator out of here, I want to say I went through this way here. So you're gonna have to definitely take the reservoir out, take this upper radiator hose off, so that'll give you plenty of room once you pull the fan assembly out to be able to extract the alternator and pull it out. I'm going to try and do this without, well, I'm gonna have to pull the compressor lines off. I was gonna try to do it without having to take the AC compressor completely out, but I'm definitely likely will have to take the lines out. So we'll see. I took my time, painted some of the stuff, man, just to make it look a little neater. And yeah, moved all the bolts. See here, I'm gonna pull those 13 millimeters bolts out. I gotta drain the coolant. What I'll do, jack the car up. There's a petcock on the right side of the engine, on the radiator side, and you can just drain that and just let it flow. Got the car jacked up, and I've taken the splash shield off. I just gotta take the splash shield and the wheel well. That'll give you the access to the pulleys and the bolts to remove the AC compressor. I'll show you that. Remove the reservoir for the coolant. Put it over here by the battery. Take off the coolant neck. I'm gonna drain the coolant first, let some of the air pressure relieve because the engine is still very hot. And then we can work on the bottom. Well, we still gotta get the fans out. So, and take a Phillips, stick that in there, turn that loose. Again, there's still a lot of pressure. So let it do its thing. I'm just gonna let it drain a little bit till it releases some of the pressure. Then I'll pull the petcock all the way out and let it drain in my pan here. Still coming out. Let's see. Yep. So got a little pressure in it. But once that drained a little bit, and we remove the radiator fill neck, I'm gonna take it off from here, just lay it off to the side. Then I'll be able to take the fan assembly out, and you'll have a lot more room to work to get this compressor out of here. I was turning the wrong way. The hell wrong with me. I guess that R1 through 1 2 3 well 1 2 3 4 YF Freon got me all screwed up. But I guess this is like, since it's reverse thread, there's no excuse. Can't blame it on anything else but myself. So it's called personal accountability. Which is definitely a virtue, because a lot of people have that. All right, here we go. We're gonna move this camera back. I ain't saying snitch on yourself, but yeah, this was already broken anyway. It wasn't really serving its purpose. I'll put that somewhere back here. Here, put this there. Now we just got to pull the fan assembly out. Let's pull the fan out a little bit, and I can get a little more room in there. 10mm. This one. There's another one down here. There's only 2 bolts. Yes. Okay. I should be able to. Just out here. Just take it out, and I think I was able to flip it up. Was it this way? So like I said, you got a lot of room here to be able to pull the alternator out and up. Like I said, I'm gonna try this without, like I said, taking the compressor all the way out. I just don't. I just don't think having to pull that compressor out again is necessary, because I can just, well, I know I got to pull the belt, pull the pulley off on the side. We'll do that. I got to pull the line off from the top here. I got to pull this lower coolant hose off. I pulled it off from the bottom and just sat it up here. I'll show you that from the side. So this is what we're dealing with now. So one of the bolts here at the top of the alternator, you don't have to remove this hose. You can take a wrench, like a socket, and go in the back of it and get that. I didn't take that hose off there because I didn't want to disturb the top of it. I just went for the bottom, pulled it out, and just sat it up because it goes around the alternator. So here you can, once you pull the top, what was it, low side, this is the suction hose. Pull this off. There's a 10mm bolt down at the bottom. Right there. So like I was saying, once I get the pulley off, the belt, I'm gonna go through the wheel well, show you that, get that off. I should be able to remove the hose, and then I'm gonna get the alternator bolt on the bottom and the one on the back top, get this line moved out the way, and I should be able to clear this, pull it out with no problems. Connector, I'm not gonna lie, it ain't the prettiest. I've been screwing around with it, and so we'll take a better look at that when I get that pulled out. Let's see, I need a 12 for this. And mind you, the connector for the alternator is broken now, so I can just pull that right on out. Hopefully the wires don't come out with it. Nope. So I'll just redo the connectors while I got it out. You can see how chipped off it is. The connector's broke. Like I say, this they're still divided, which isn't a problem. The pins, they're tight, and the C terminal and L isn't merged together. They're not burnt, or they were pinned together like that because of the harness, but now separated them. It still had the same problem. So here we are. Do need to get, I could probably just do the wiring down here, but I could also separate it. I'll just do it right here, so that way I ain't gotta cut that. I got plenty of room. All right, let me get this hose at the bottom, this one here, move it off to the side, and then I should have room to pull the alternator out. Get this one bolt out here. I can go ahead and crack that loose. I think that's a 12. I think I should be able to. It was a 12 millimeter. You gotta be careful because I said the alternator, the radiator's right here. You don't want to hit that radiator and mess that up. It's gonna be a bad day. I'm just gonna get that loose, and then I'll fish that hose out from the bottom. Now this hose, you cannot miss it. Once you go to the bottom, you'll see it. It's gonna literally be right there by the oil pan. And there's just the clamp down there. Pick it up and stick it to the side. And that'll be the room you need. Then you can disconnect the AC compressor harness if you decide to, but you shouldn't have to. Once you pull this, did I separate that last time? I don't think I did. I think I separated that. I had enough room to move this harness over to the side here. Yeah, I didn't do anything with that. All right, let's go under the car. Shucks, that's a 14. No, it's a 13. Thought I had a, oh, yeah. Thought it was a 14. There's a hole here on the side of the tensioner, so you can lock that in place. I'm just going to use a Phillips, stick it right on through. A little eyelet. Just like that. I can pull the belt down. Make note of your belt diagram before you pull this off. I know people will ask. So we're going to take that idler off. I thought that was a 14 also. Yeah, it's a 13 also. Well, I thought it was a 14, but it's 13. Here's the bolt for the alternator. That's the 16. Once we pull that down, we should have room to get the alternator out. Just pull that through bolt out. So if you was to remove the compressor, take off that 10, take off those 15 millimeter bolts, and then there's another one on the, you have to access from the bottom, and then on the inside of the vehicle. So push that through. But I'm not taking off the compressor. Okay, I went under the bottom, reached behind the exhaust and got it. So reach behind the compressor and I can pull it out very easy. All right, let's see if we can pull this compressor out. Not, not the compressor, pull the alternator out. I swear there's something else I did. It's not the bolt. Keep those two together. I think it was something else I did, but let's see. I need to stuff a towel or something in that compressor. I forgot to do that. Like a little rag, keeping debris from getting in there. Stuff a shop towel in there, a clean one. Now, best thing to do, put some cardboard down here so you won't hit the radiator. My back. I swear I went this way. I remember pulling this cover off. I don't remember having to do that. I swear I didn't pull this off, but I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna pull this off. I guess I pulled it off and didn't remember that I did do it. Let me make sure I pull these out so I don't lose them. I don't remember honestly pulling them out, so let's see. I swear I was able to get this out without having to pull it out, but I guess okay. That's that. So again, this is a 3-pin connector. I gotta wait till about 6 o'clock to get the wire to repair this. So once that come in, then I'll match the wire up and replace it so I can get the harness fixed. So I'm gonna get everything installed in reverse order, and I guess the only thing we can do is look at it, make sure everything's working. But just like last time, hopefully when they get the car back, they don't have any problems. Because I mean, I can test drive it all day. It's just unfortunate customer get the car and shit screw up. But that's the problem with getting these aftermarket parts. Well, just parts in general. I'm not even gonna say it's aftermarket, because talking to some of the guys that usually only replace dealer only parts still have things fail. It's just inevitable. I did a couple alternators this month and I'm just like, something gotta go wrong. Somebody's alternator's gotta fail. It's like a 33% chance they'll work. I'm sorry, 33% chance they'll fail. Because most of the time they work. They just fail prematurely. I just got back from the parts store and I started putting my wires together. I'm not soldering anything. I'd rather do the twist method. And simply because it moves. It's malleable, impressionable, maneuverable, whatever you want to call it. But there's no binding. And I'm gonna show you just this last wire that I'm doing. So what I just did one at a time, matched up the connector face, and just snip one wire off, twist it, use heat shrink. I got a larger one here on the end of these two. Once I get these two heat shrinked, and I'll slide this sleeve over it, and then I'll use insulation tape to finish it off. Let me show you. I don't know if it'll capture everything. So this last one, far right. Just to be on the safe side. Yep, all right. I had to expand one of the ends here. Get started. There. Strip that wire out. Where you can see it. Now fold it over. Slide my heat shrink down on it. So this heat shrink has a little adhesive on here on the end, so it'll keep it mended together. And it's smooth, no bulge or anything, so I don't have to worry about the wires potentially. Let's see if I slide it over quick. Come over here. There you go. I don't have no bulge or any sharp spots, so I don't have to worry about it potentially hitting each other. Cool. This will be all right. And I mean, I can, and I'll put some wire tape up here, and I'll probably just pull the wires further through the harness, because I don't want them to bend or anything. And the plan honestly was to just I should have pulled them out and made its own separate harness. That's what I should have done, but I didn't do that. But I'm gonna make this work where it's not bent or have any sharp angles. So I'll pull it up through here and just have to re-insulate it. Let me get that taken care of. I got everything back together. As far as the wire, take it back a little bit. I looped it around up top here and just zip tied it. So worst case scenario, it's a 180 bend, and it's not where I twisted the wires together or anything, and it's pretty gradual and relaxed. So worst case scenario, I got plenty of room to test the alternator and the wiring if need be. Hopefully I shouldn't, and this should work forever. And we shouldn't have any more problems. But you can see once you get that fan assembly out, you got a lot of room, and the radiator, the fuel neck and stuff. So I got the hose connected. The only thing I got to do is put the tire on the splash guard right in the wheel well, and go from there. So I'm gonna let it vacuum so I can refill the AC and see if this alternator works. And we'll be back. First startup. Battery lights off. Shut up. My scan tool acting stupid. Let me get logged in here. I got my battery voltage here. And to be honest, it looks stable. It's not jumping around like it was before. Let me go to the PID data and the alternator. Because before it was jumping around real bad. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that battery voltage. It looks real stable. Let's go to live data. Oh, let me go back to the alternator. Let me select all. So before I was able to, okay, it's at 30%. 0. And it goes up to 15 volts. Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure why I still do that. I guess that's a safety protocol. But before it was at 0 and it was at 12 volts. It wasn't like that. Before I would go to 100% and it would drop down to 14 volts. Let me see if it does the same thing. No, it doesn't. Before, when I would go to 100%, it would stay at 14. Now it's staying at 15. Let me drop down. But at the same time, it's cold. Let me go out here, go to live data. Go to battery voltage. Still floating around. Let's see what we like on the graph. Yeah, I don't expect it to not be erratic because again, I have another 2010 Maxima here, and it looked the same, so I'm not going to break my neck over it. The real test is ultimately when I drive it, because the ripple on the other Maxima that don't have alternator problems looks a little worse and choppier than this, and it's here for a motor, you know. So let me take it on the drive. Let me get this AC filled, let it run for a while, and we'll see what happened after 30 minutes of driving. All right, it is been about 40 minutes, driven 31.5 miles, 31.5 miles, and there's no light. It is a cool night. It is like, what time is it? I want to say, yeah, so it's 9:26. So it is cool. So I'll know tomorrow how everything is going to work out if I take it on another test drive during the heat of the day. So I'm hoping that this alternator works out and it don't come back. Usually if one fails, I throw another one on it and I don't hear back from the customer. So that's usually how it works. Hopefully because of, you know, they're not disappointed, but you know, I don't know. But this, I don't know if I said anything about as far as the labor claim. They're not going to cover this. When I went to the parts store to get the alternator tested, it tested fine. And even though it was like blatantly just like broken, the light was on, but it still charged. So O'Reilly's, when they test their alternators, they don't test the L terminals. I don't think their machine go in depth and test that. So I think it just check and see for the output if it's producing voltage or not. I don't think it's go as far as checking those, the C terminal, L terminal, F terminal. I don't think it does all that. It just says, hey, it's making voltage and it passes. So it passed as I expect it to. It is what it is. I know for a fact, you saw it, I saw it, the battery light was on. The voltage was being produced. I could have went a little as far as like literally putting a multimeter or a test light to the L terminal and seeing if it was actually grounding out. Well, I'm sure it was, because if I disconnected it, the only variable is the output of that L terminal. So when that alternator gets excited, the L terminal is supposed to produce 12 volts. It wasn't, it was grounding out, and that's why the light came on. If I disconnect it while it's running, the light goes out. There's no short or any issues with the wiring. It was just the alternator not doing its duty and producing 12 volts at that L terminal. So this was free. It ain't so bad the second time around. It's unfortunate that I'm not gonna get compensated for this. It'd be like that. It's done. Customer's gonna get fixed. I'm out a little bit of money. It is what it is. You know, I'll make it up tomorrow. So if anything happened, I'll definitely update. Labor time on this is supposed to be like 3 hours, I want to say, to do the alternator. But you do, technically by the book, you're supposed to remove the AC compressor. I managed to do it without it. And hopefully this information helps. But if anything happened, I'll definitely update. Hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, and have the reassurance of my work. See you on the next one.